Okay, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for coming today. And today is, how to invest in the most important person in your customer. The CRM is the central place where you track and manage those customers. And what we're really here to talk about today is how you can use CRM to really manage that customer experience, who they are, why it's important, and all the parts that go into making it all happen. So, as you can see here, this is the basic structure, and we'll talk a little bit more into that. So this is half process, half structure. But one thing I want you to start off with is to think about and to conceptualize the idea of these beautiful, delicious strawberries. Don't worry, I have checked them for needles, so they're all clear. But basically, the strawberries is everything you want. It's all the sales. It's all the the good leads, the things that you want to get out of your business. Now, what percentage of leads does the average business close? 5%, 10%, no idea. Well, why don't we say 10% for the argument of what we're talking about here today? That means that your leads look like this. So 10% are good and 90% are bad, right? Well, I'd probably say it looks a little bit more like this, in that you've got some that are really good, delicious, ready to go right now. You've got some that need a little bit of nurturing, a little bit of time. You've got some that need a lot of nurturing and a lot of time, and some that genuinely are bad. Now, this is broken into four for the purpose's sake, but you don't know what percentage this is. It could be different for every business, but it's important to know that not every business or people that don't buy right now are not lost always. And it could be really important to follow up with these, with your customers, with your leads, with your potentials. 44% of businesses stop after the first follow-up attempt. Someone comes in, maybe they come in physically, maybe they call, maybe they download something, and then nothing happens after that. Maybe after 2 contacts, 22% of businesses, they're a little bit more adventurous. They'll have a go at following up 2 times, maybe 3. But 80% of the sales occur on or after the 5th contact, and only 8% of businesses actually get that far. So there's a series of processes and steps that a business needs to go through to be able to, at scale, manage where everyone is in the pipeline. So, first of all, you're going to check, do we already have this person on file? Do we have a record of who they are? Maybe that could come to light and say, oh, long time no see. It's great. It's been a few months since we last spoke, and I can see that you spoke to someone about this, and this. So instead of starting off scratch in green every time, that relationship is much further down the pipeline. Then, if they're a new contact, you can work out, how interested are they? Are they just kicking the tires? Are they actually someone who's qualified to buy? Are they looking at your Porsche that you got for sale and saying, yeah, I want one of these, this is absolutely amazing. But there's a big difference whether they've got the budget and the ability to buy it, or they're someone fresh out of high school with just really grandiose dreams. But then, if they're not good, how do you improve who you're getting in terms of your pipeline? So you need to give that feedback all the way back to the marketing team, which sort of says, there's different parts to the relationship. You've got the what is the lead? They come into your business, and as you can see by the diagram here, it's really the first step. You've got accounts, you've got contacts, opportunities, but what do they all mean? So in my mind, the lead is really that top of funnel. It's that first point of contact. You haven't, it's a hint, it's a whiff, it's a sense that someone wants to do something or is interested or wants to interact with your brand. And, this is the place where maybe you haven't assessed how good they are. Maybe you haven't checked whether they're in your system already. And this allows you to triage, to separate out, to filter down to the right contacts, to the right people. And it's the first step you take before conversion. Now, if they're already in the system, that's fine. That doesn't need to be a waste of time looking at them in the lead bucket. It just means that, that's where they first went before you triage that interaction. And the next is the account. So once you convert a lead, they can go into an account, a contact, and an opportunity. Now, the account is kind of like the legal representation of a person, maybe a family unit, maybe a charitable organization, but it's a concept, it's a thing. Whereas the contact is more of the human or the person involved. So the account allows you to group things like the contacts, allows you to group the relationship. Maybe you have your legal relationship will be with the account or the concept of account. So the family unit, like the Smith family or something like that. So it can be one person, a multiple of people. You can have, one person can be related to multiple companies, but you need a way to track those relationships and who they are when they're in that mode and they're working as that person. And then your contacts, and I'll just go back one step here. They don't always have to be customers. Any relationship in your business is valuable, whether it's the one with your employees, whether it's the one with your customers, your suppliers, your stakeholders, referrers and partners. Everyone has a place in your business. It's about tracking, optimizing, and improving those relationships. Then we want to think about contacts. These are the individuals. They're the people that you are dealing with. They have a name. They have maybe a pet. They have a t-shirt size, a favorite coffee. All of these sorts of things are the things that you can track and manage on an individual and then optimize it on a large scale. For example, I worked with an accounting firm who wanted to know they had really high net worth individuals and they wanted to be able to have an amazing experience for them when they came in to do any business. So as soon as that person, they're booked with one of the accounting consultants, and they come in, they go straight into the meeting room, and they sit down and they get straight to business because they're high net worth, they're busy. Meanwhile, the receptionist looks up the individual, they find what their coffee order is, they go and make it and then bring it in 5 minutes into the meeting. Here you go, sir. Greet them by name. Here's your long white macchiato, whatever it is, and give them that personalized experience. And that always doesn't, like, these experiences can extend well beyond, the email that they get. It can be things that, the way you address someone. Maybe you put their name pronunciation in there. All of these things allow you to build those deeper relationships. And finally, opportunities. These are the things, the discussion items, the points in business that allow you to progress an item or a piece of work. So like it's maybe an opportunity for a deal. Maybe it's, maybe the deal isn't you. Maybe it's a candidate in a life cycle of recruitment or something like that. But there's all these things that you need to manage: the status, the stage, the value, the next best action, those sorts of things that are going to allow you to move it forward faster. And you know what they say, what gets measured gets managed. So if you're not tracking those relationships, if you're not tracking how many fail, how many succeed, what are the failing points, what are the things that really accelerate those deals, then you're never really going to be able to optimize the process. So basically, you need to turn your business into a funnel, and at the top of the funnel, you need to be able to pour contacts in. Then you need to have a filtration process, something to manage, something to separate out the ones that aren't really good for you, that maybe aren't right fit, maybe this is not the right timing. Maybe there's some in there, the process, that need to be enriched or made more potent. So it needs time to simmer and boil and become a little bit more ready to go until you distill down and you get the right stuff. And ideally, if you're doing the process right, you'll end up with good quality leads, sales, and everything you want coming at you like this. So CRM in Australia is not really being taken up the way it should. The World Economic Forum says that we're falling behind on digital competitiveness. There was a report from Deloitte saying that 70% of Australian small business don't have a CRM, but there is almost empirical evidence and statistical benefit to the bottom line. And it's ridiculous how much it can be a benefit when implemented correctly, and yet so few are doing it. 22% of salespeople whose job it is to know what a CRM is have no idea what it is or how it works. And 44% of small businesses that adopt a CRM, SMBs that adopt a CRM have 44% higher revenue than those that don't adopt a CRM or have basic systems. So it's about creating that exponential growth, short-term pain for long-term gain. You can see here that the linear growth path would be if you just carried on the way you were. Yes, you'd be able to grow. Yes, you can find customers. Yes, you can track all the things that are happening in your business. But is it really transformational? Is it really going to take you to the next level? Does it make you competitive? Probably not. So doing the same thing as everybody else will get you the same results as everybody else. And like we said, what gets measured gets managed. Sometimes your data will be able to tell you new things that you didn't know about your business. You'll be able to track and manage things better. You'll be able to automate processes. You reduce the time it takes to communicate about problem X or issue Y or customer situation Z. So that reduces the amount of in-between time on all the little things that happen. And that allows you to spend more time on getting a better night's sleep, having more personal time to engage with your team, refresh yourself as a person, go swimming, do whatever it is that you do, and then spend more time having actual relationships with your customers, which then leads to more sales. And quite often, a lot of businesses try these methods. They'll get a CRM, they'll have a go, nah, don't like it, and then they'll flick and they'll change. But they stop so close to just hitting absolute diamonds. So, it's a project. It's something you need to undertake properly. It's nothing you need to measure, you need to manage, and you need to go at it with full force, knowing that there is something really, really good on the other side. So 5 reasons why most businesses have a crap CRM, or it's not working, or even if it's conceptual, maybe they're using spreadsheets, but they're still conceptually using CRM in the case of, leads, contacts, opportunities. Maybe they're, I was talking to a few people, and, they always say, I like the really user-friendly stuff. I like things like, HubSpot or whatever. And, there is an ease of use bias. People want to find something that's easy to use. But then, there's the other argument of, well, there's something that's very much worth using. There's all these really technical solutions for LinkedIn or for, Facebook or for, whatever it is. There's these very specific solutions, but they kind of miss the mark in that they're too specific, or they're very complicated, or they require coding experience to be able to manage and use. So what I think is there's this middle ground where you bring basic users up and technical users down. And that effective zone is where they can work together to collaborate on contacts, relationships, and interactions with clients and customers that really do hit the mark very, very well. Sure, there could be a much more technical solution, but you don't got to be an absolute boffin to work on it. So no one in the company can actually handle and manage it. But then you don't want to get anyone off the street and say, here is our Fandangle system. It looks really beautiful and it's super easy for you to use, because then they're not going to be able to do some of the things that they need to do, following up as much, keeping the right notes. There is a personal human development that needs to happen as well as a technological one. The next one is seeing as at a cost rather than investment. Yeah, there are some expensive tools out there, but it's kind of like, you want to get to the moon, getting a cheaper rocket's not going to get you there. You need to get the right rocket for the right, distance and for the right phase of moon to get you there. Otherwise, you're just it's like bargaining down the price of a car and ending up with a shell with no motor, no wheels, and no doors. It's not going to do the job that you need it to do. So I really urge anyone who's looking for a CRM is to don't focus on price, focus on value. Look at the FTE time, look at the output that you're going to be able to do. Making your CRM an island. So many businesses bring out this, they go, oh, I want a CRM. And they go, I'm going to get this thing. And then it doesn't talk to their emails. It doesn't talk to, they don't have an app for it, so they can't access it quickly on the go. It's just this thing over there on the back of some URL that someone has to go in, log in, add details, add notes, and go and manage. So then it becomes a chore and it just does not get used. It's not integrated into the everyday life. What you should be doing is pouring all information into it and use it as your command center, your operations hub for then doing everything else that you need to do in your business. And, you know, I was talking to there's a case of another business who uses implemented a certain enterprise grade system, and they got a 5.1 times return on investment. And that is not unheard of when it's done right. But the funny thing is that the benefits, the direct benefits, were only 10%. The indirect benefits were something like 90%. So, you know, like I was saying, those in-between times, that conversation time. And this was a 20-person solar company. So, you know, you don't have to be absolute giant to get all of the benefits. You just need to make good decisions. And not making it a strategic decision. You know, one of the things that that you gain from a CRM is you can store first name, last name, email, contact, phone number. But that's not the point. You can do that in a spreadsheet. You can do it in a paper Rolodex. What you really gain is the interrelatedness and the connections between the data, the companies, the contacts, the whatever else that you've built into it. So when you switch, you lose that. You can export stuff, sure. You get it into spreadsheets, you can import it into something else. But there is so much data and metadata and background stuff that you lose because you're constantly switching. So my advice would be, pick something that you're going to live in and grow with for the next 3 to 5 years. Then that way you're going to get into something, it's going to be of good value for you, and it is going to make a lasting change in your business. Because the last thing you want to do is chop, change, jump, and lose data in between every step of the way. And the last one, I would say, the number one problem is a lack of flexibility. Your business now is going to be different in 3 months, 1 week, 6 weeks, 12 months. It's undeniable. It's just going to happen. You know, imagine at the start of 2020, if you said, yep, things are going great, nothing's going to change, and we're just going to do things this way. If you didn't have the ability to adapt, to change, to modify, to now all of a sudden go to remote work, then you are in very much a painful spot. You know, I think, you know, even when you're doing a review of a business, and like for me, if I'm gonna do a review of a business, for not taking change into consideration, you know, me building something, if it's a 6-month project, me building something now, by the time it's released, the business underneath it has fundamentally changed. So you need to be aware that you know, business models change. You need to react and adapt to competitive forces, to things that are working. You know, going from you know, Facebook all of a sudden bans something, media outlets in particular. They need a whole new way of operating. So that is basically the high-level overview of all of the things that you need in your CRM, the things that that stop you from getting those interactions. And the thing I want to leave you with is that understanding your customer, who they are, what they like, what they don't like, when they want to be contacted, when they don't want to be contacted, things like this can really drive personalization. And you know, 86% of people will pay more for a better customer experience, but only 1% of people report actually having consistent positive experiences from businesses. So it's very, very hard, and it's very, very important to be able to strive towards that to that goal. And simply firing emails at someone or calling them 100 times isn't really the right way to go about it in this day and age. So the thing I'd like to also leave you with is, if anyone wants to have a chat about their CRM, you know, I've got links to free things, free trials. I've got guides, how-tos, and some free courses. But my big thing is I want to educate people in this space because, like I said, Australia is falling behind, and it is so important that we make a difference and we make a change for the better. So that is it. Thank you very much for listening. If anyone has any questions, please, I'm going to stop sharing now, and I'd be happy to have a chat.
Just a comment there. Getting the business processes right is often a real challenge, and I think it's underestimated how much effort is required to get that right. And asking all the right questions. So asking when somebody comes to you with a request, asking the reasons why. Why do you need that information? And when they give you an answer, replying with another why question, and just keep on asking until you get down to the root of the problem, which you may well be able to solve another way. So oftentimes people come to me with solutions when they don't know that there's another way that I can do it. So yeah, by continually questioning what their business process is and refining it helps you get to a better answer.
Very, very correct. I think a good example of that would be, you know, do the people want the change? Is there some unknown reason that this is, you know, that this problem exists, or is it a wanted problem? For example, when I was in the army in Afghanistan, we built. So the locals had this well, and the women would have to walk, you know, 2 kilometers. Would take them, you know, half an hour, and they'd be there for like an hour or two, and then they'd wander back. And so we went, all right, we'll build a well. So the Americans were keen to do some development, so we built a well right next to their village, and so they only had to go, you know, 200 meters that way instead of 2 kilometers that way. And I think within about a week, the well was destroyed by the women because they valued the 2 kilometer walk where they could get away from the men and have a talk. That was their culture, is that they've got to be very much segregated. And the fact that they had some alone time with each other was incredibly valuable to them. And no one actually asked that 5 why.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes the other thing that happens too is you ask the wrong people. So if you, no matter how large or small an organization is, you find that managers have a certain idea, and then the troops on the ground who are actually doing the work, who are, you know, doing the data input and who are following the business process in the CRM, they're worlds apart, and they don't know it, and they will never know it. So you've got to make sure that when a manager comes to you asking for something, that you follow down the line through their team and other teams that are impacted, and see, well, is what this manager tells me, because a manager has a thought bubble and thinks that a certain process works like this. Well, yeah, it did 3 years ago, but the rest of the team has moved on from that, and the manager thinks that, you know, the wheels still turn clockwise when they've been turning the other way for the last 3 years. So yeah, that's another interesting observation that I've had.
Definitely measure twice, cut once.
That's the one.
And I think the important thing about this is whenever you're running a project, make sure all stakeholders that are involved in the workings of that project are in the room at the beginning when you have the kickoff meeting.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes people, like, particularly when we're talking, I guess, digital transformation and, you know, the stakeholder management, project management side, is that sometimes, you know, like, don't measure the cost, measure the ROI. If you scrimp and try to cut those meetings out and don't try to get that early on advice, that early on feedback and consultation, then something you build 2, 3, 4, 5 steps down the line has to be completely redone. There was a case in a large financial institution that had decided to modify, go off the reservation and use a standard field for a non-standard purpose, and ended up having to redo $1.5 million worth of development into the platform in order to undo what they should have asked one simple question at the start.
Wow. Yeah, I think the other thing is at that kickoff meeting, make sure it's not stacked with management too. Make sure that there are representatives of the user group in there.
Personally, I like to interview top, middle, bottom, independent managers, because you'll find the lower ones will open up. They're like, oh, this, that, and that. And you take every swear word, you edit it, you make it nice and sweet for the managers when they get it. But a dot point, no holds barred. This is life. That's very much on I guess the larger big process side. Did anyone else have any questions about making their customer number one, or about CRM, or in life in general? You're on mute, Paul.
There we are. Are we on now?
Yes.
Hi, look, not so much a question, just a comment, if I may. My name's Paul Kennedy. I know one or two people here, and I've been doing some work with Avon recently. And to be honest, I found it really annoying because he's got me so well tracked on his damn CRM that the promises that I make are, Avon, I'll have that to you on Friday. Well, on Saturday, I'll get a little prompt saying, hey, Paul, how are we doing? And look, I've got a wonderful database. I just don't use it, and I don't use it very well, which is why I'm enjoying working with Avon. And I think I need to become a bit more like you, Avon, and have it set up so that all the little prompts that I should have been leaving around town to follow up with client A, B, C are actually there, and I do it, as opposed to just leaving it to memory, which is what I've really been doing until now. So just watching as you went through and knowing, being on the receiving end of you actually doing it, to be honest, I wished I could jump 6 months ahead and be there. I'd love it. So any help you can give us, much appreciated. Thank you.
One tip, very, very simple. Scheduled wrap time. Spend 5 or 10 minutes after every meeting. Be religious about this, taking notes, adding tasks, doing something that is going to help you. So it's kind of like slow down to speed up. Back-to-back meetings don't work. We know that. There's plenty of research on it. You get out of one, you get into the next one, you're in that zone, you've forgotten everything from that previous meeting. Now, like even after I go to a meeting, I block out time on my calendar in between every session. Even if I jump on my phone, in particular, if you've got whatever app it is on your phone, sales teams that have a mobile enabled CRM hit their sales targets 60% of the time, whereas sales teams that have desktop only CRMs only hit their targets 40% of the time. There's a huge, huge difference. And by slowing down to speed up, you actually make every other interaction 10 times more potent, 10 times more effective, because when you go back, spend 5 minutes before the meeting, going back through your notes and refreshing yourself. You go, oh, so how did you go with that thing we spoke of, 3 moons ago? How's your dog with its broken leg going?
The other tip that I would give that I've used in the interim, Avon, is whatever time I am going to tell you that I'll have it to you by, I multiply it by 3. So,
well,
anyway, much appreciated. Thank you.
Follow-up reminder prompts, but yeah.
And I think one of the things that I've seen you do really, really well, Avon, is make sure that emails and phone calls are connected. And if you have the mobile app with the CRM, it just makes that process so much more easy, because each time you get on the phone, it's recorded. Whereas if it's not on the mobile app, you have to physically enter everything. It's not automatic.
And they're like click to call. So you got there's 1 second between you and that person. Whereas it's like, oh, I've got to call them. Hold on. Yeah, where are they in my contacts list? Oh, there they are. Look, that took too long. I won't bother. So then you just don't reach out. So reducing the barriers to connecting with real people. Anyway. All right. Any final thoughts?
Just one last one. Just talking about that customer experience. Back in the good old days when we could travel, it was only about 2 years ago, my wife and I went to China. So we started off with the travel agent who booked the tour for us, and we sent them all the details. So we sent them our names and addresses and phone numbers and passport numbers and all the rest of it. And they booked us onto this tour, and we had to provide the details then to the airlines. And then of course we had to apply for visas. So we had to give them all that information all over again. Then when we arrived in China, we had to fill out these immigration forms, same information all over again. Then eventually we got to a hotel and we had to do the same thing all over again. Even though we'd given all this information to the travel agent, I just felt that we were giving that same information over and over and over again. Finally, we got into the lift. put in the magic card, and finally it knew who we were because it took us straight to the 12th floor. And I thought, eureka, finally somebody knows who the hell we are. Yeah. After all of those interactions, and we'd provided all of that information about ourselves, nobody used it effectively until right at the very end, when we're, you know, tired and just want to go to the hotel room, put the card in and goes, oh, I know what floor you need to go to. And yeah, so that personalized journey wasn't very personalized at all, except for that tiny little piece.
Now where as you walk in the store, your device is geo-fenced, they know you're there, and if you're a regular purchaser of product X, they'll walk up to you, welcome you by name. Hello Avon, your usual is behind the counter when you're ready. Have a great day. And as you walk out the door, you go and pick it up. It's potentially on your account if you've got one, or they'll do whatever they have to do. Scan, bip your card on the way out or something, and yeah, seamless customer experience. Absolutely. Well, thank you very much for coming along today. I really appreciate your time. And again, if anyone wants to have a chat, you've got my meeting link. It's just relevate.com.au/avoncollis, AVONCOLLIS. I'll send you an email after this with a recording of the meeting link. Pretty keen to say good day and have a chat, and hope you all have a great one.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a great
Have a good weekend.